Good morning to you all. Today is a glorious day because I should be going kiting today. I say should because I'm waiting for my buddy Andrew just to make sure I get that text message from him. We should be meeting up there at Deer Creek Reservoir. I haven't been kiting since my last video, which I will link up right here. And in my last video, as you saw, I couldn't go upwind. I was struggling, as it's been a constant struggle. But that's part of the learning process. I will apply a lot of the tips in the comments section that you guys gave to me, and also watching Peter from Kitesurfing Experience, his videos. We're gonna see if I have learned anything or if I can at least put some of those tips into practice. It's been 7 weeks since the last time I kited, and so I haven't been getting consistent practice. Life and sometimes lack of wind gets in the way and makes practicing very difficult. On this day, the wind was perfect for me. It wasn't too strong, and so that gave me the confidence I needed to get out there. Deer Creek Reservoir is located about 1 hour away from Salt Lake City, and it's a local stomping ground. The only problem is, it's not super beginner friendly due to its sometimes inconsistent winds and short shoreline. You're going to see an additional problem that I didn't expect or even knew existed until this day. Whew, okay, a little nervous, but it looks like the wind picked up, it's consistent, and the 12 is pretty good. Okay. This was my third or fourth time coming to Deer Creek this year, and every time I come, it seems it's changed. Now in July, the lake water is starting to recede, which exposes the lake bed quite a bit more, so the walk out to the actual lake is quite a long one. As you can see here, there are these massively long plants that seem to be everywhere. This was never here the last few times I came to Deer Creek. This is going to prove to be a huge problem very shortly. The thoughts that were going in my head this whole time were all the tips that have been graciously handed to me by the kiting community on YouTube, the locals, and Peter. I reminded myself to keep my hands close together on the bar, keep the kite trimmed when I'm not riding and to untrim when I ride, to pull the bar in and then swing the kite down to the proper position, and to not swing the kite back and forth up and down. Then, after I get up and start riding, to start edging and turn my shoulders upwind. This was my plan all along, but it's one thing to remind myself and another to put it into practice. I realized very quickly that I was trying to go upwind too fast and also too far upwind where I fell out of the wind window. Additionally, my center of gravity wasn't correct when doing my water starts, so needless to say, it wasn't a super smooth beginning. After the last few sessions, I've learned that if I'm feeling anxious or stressed, to just park the kite on the water. It's completely safe and I can get my composure. The water I was in was also very shallow, where I could stand, and after parking the kite, I started going over my mistakes in my head to see how I should correct them. At this point, I'm familiar enough with Deer Creek to know that it's quite a short area to launch and start going upwind toward the middle of the lake. As you can see here, this is the only available launch area. If a beginner like me goes past this area, there's no beach or area to get out of the water, pack up my kite, and walk back to the original destination. Due to this, I only have 2 to 3 water starts to get up and get going, which can be stressful. If I don't make it, I need to body drag back upwind and try again. I thought by this point I'd be done with flying over the front of my board onto my stomach, but I guess I'm still too much of a newbie. And after flying over my board, you can see where the problem has begun for me. Remember those long plants in the water? Yeah, apparently that's called lakeweed, and it is a huge bitch. This is my first time encountering this stuff, and body dragging through it was like being constricted by spaghetti. Now that I haven't had a successful water start, you're going to see what havoc this stuff is going to wreak on me. Here I'm trying to relaunch my kite. Seems simple enough, right? Well, that would be the case until my lines were being suffocated by this relentless lakeweed shit. You can see here that 2 of my lines start collecting lakeweed. It not only is impossible to get off of my lines, but it also weighs them down so that any effort I make by trying to get the kite out of the water is all in vain. Thoughts start going in my head of death loops and being pulled onto land and having no control of my kite whatsoever. I realized this was getting slightly serious.
Oh, this sucks. God damn it.
This was a seriously annoying situation to encounter, but here I am trying to work through it. I feel like kitesurfing is a puzzle, and I'm trying to figure out how to put the pieces together. Currently, I feel like I've put about 60% of the pieces together. But with new challenges like lakeweed, it's like throwing in pieces in the pile that don't even go to the puzzle. This is me getting frustrated, yet trying to work this shit out. In the end, I figured the best course of action was to do a self-rescue. The wind wasn't terribly strong, I was able to stand and have good footing, and I had no other option. Plus, this was a good time to practice this action. Being a good student, I watched Peter's videos on self-rescue before coming, so I feel I was pretty well versed. One thing that can't be taught with kitesurfing are these certain variables that are thrown in my way. I just have to live it, experience it, and learn from it. Just like this lakeweed, my first time snow kiting was in 2 to 3 foot powdered snow, so I sunk in deep. Trying to set up the kite in 2 to 3 feet of powder is probably like running a marathon and doing HIIT training at the same time. It's a nightmare. Here I am in a similar nightmare, just trying to wrap my lines up with a whole new variable introduced to the mix. I will say though, after this, I will definitely be paying more attention to lakeweed. Doing a self-rescue is already somewhat of a process, but with lakeweed, oh, it's a whole new ballgame. As I try to wrap up the lines, the wind is still pulling the kite, creating a decent amount of tension, and the lakeweed continues to tangle everything. I'm happy I'm safe and fine, but I realized in that moment that untangling the lines wasn't going to be fun. This definitely felt like a battle with a sea monster. The challenges just keep on coming. Success though, I finally reached my kite, and now had to figure out what the best course of action was to bring it back to the launch site safely, without tearing it. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't frustrated. It seems my sessions go in these cycles where, every time I get the opportunity to go kiting, I'm super stoked, and a bit nervous. Kiting for me is an adrenaline rush and the biggest challenge I've faced to date. These emotions are what keep me going and loving it. But then I get to my session, and it's a constant state of learning things. As much as learning is fun, I would really love to have one win, where I can ride for a while at least, and get back to where I started. I know that it's just about putting the time and energy in, but after these few times kiting, it does get frustrating.
I gotta deal with this next.
My plan for my control bar mess was to tie the loose ends of my lines on the pole and then slowly sort it out. But, as luck would have it, this legend named Chris came to help out. I think he watched my ordeal and wanted to lend a helping hand. Another reason why the kiting community rocks. They are always there to help in some way, shape, or form. Thank you, Chris, for your help, man. You rock.
What's your name? Chris, I'm Tyler.
Tyler,
Nice to meet you.
everyone pays their dues. So
Yeah. Appreciate your help.
Except for that one, speed thing about all done.
Have you been caught in this stuff before?
There you go.
Can I get a handshake?
Yeah, of course, bud. Thank you.
Man, that's awesome.
Well, that was really disappointing. First time encountering lake weed, and apparently as the lake goes down, as the water goes down and evaporates, more and more weeds will show up. So yeah, that sucks, man, because the second your kite's in the water and then the weed goes on your lines, you're sort of screwed. You just got to get out. Not a fun experience, but it's part of the learning curve, and this guy just keeps learning. When is this guy gonna actually be able to ride? I want to blame it on environmental issues, as in it's the environment that I'm in, but I can't keep doing that, of course. I'm not gonna fucking cry about it. I just really want to get riding, and it's tough. Luckily, as you saw, the dudes are really cool. They all want to help, which is really nice, and I love this crew. They are so good here. But yeah, I don't know. I will say, the thought has crossed my mind, like, I don't know, will I ever get to do this? Should I quit? I don't want to bust out the Q word, but after talking to my friends and knowing who I am, I'm not going to quit. I've already invested so much money and time into it that I'm really close to actually getting up and riding and doing what I need to do. But it's just a tough journey, like really tough. Anyway, yeah, another learning lesson today. The lake won the battle, but it did not win the war, so I will be back to do it another day.